Hi, I'm Danielle Malin from Spirit's Voice TV, and today I'm excited. We are kickstarting an interview series on for this YouTube channel where I will introduce you to a whole series of mediums, psychics, and of course intuitive healers to bring you a whole range of great content over the coming months. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit notify, and we'll let you know when we launch new videos. Today I'm with Lana F Jackson. She's a psychic, medium and astrologer, but she's also a teacher and of course a mentor. Hi Lana, great to see you.
Hi Danielle, thank you so much for inviting me to do this interview with you. I'm really honoured.
Well, you know, we have so much in common and I just love you to bits because you do things a little bit differently, and that's what I'm all about. So let's start talking about what you actually do and who are the people that you work with.
Well, thank you for asking. I'm actually an astrologer, and I've been working with astrology since I was a 10-year-old child, so quite some years now. I won't reveal how many. But working with spirit, you know, I was born a medium, and it took me many years to actually acknowledge and accept my abilities to actually connect with spirit. And then the psychic ability, well, it's always been there. So really, I've been doing this my whole life, but professionally doing it for 22 years now. And it's taken me on a really, really big journey.
So what's this journey all about? Tell us, what have you been up to?
Well, first and foremost is identifying my abilities. I think people always refer to them as a gift, and for me personally, I think if you did see it as a gift, you'd give it back, because it's not the hocus pocus, I'm in focus type of ability to have, to tell you the truth. And working with spirit has its challenges. Spirit speaking riddles, and you're here to bear a lot of responsibility on working with people who are vulnerable, or people who are looking for answers, or people who are looking to go to that next level of who they are. And so for me, working with spirit goes beyond just doing readings. I love doing my readings, but for me, it's a much bigger picture than that. And back in 2016, I had a major epiphany where I decided to resign from spirit. And I did hear the chorus of laughter when I said it, because this is my purpose. This is my destiny to do. But what the message that I got through a meditation in connecting with spirit was, there is more to working with us than just readings. And my personal background is a human resource manager and a primary school teacher and a workplace trainer. And so I had all of these names behind, all these letters behind my name. And spirit said, work with them and work with us. And so what transpired from that was that I have abilities to work with spirit and people the same as a carpenter has the ability to build a house, or a lawyer has the ability to argue the law, or a doctor has the ability to practice medicine. So for me personally, I was born with these abilities, and
for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's where it transpired from there. Astrology is my way of expressing those abilities, or my way of communicating the way that I work with spirit. So I work very differently to most mediums, and it's not an intentional thing, it just is. I spent many years trying to fit into that box, and not very successfully. I went on to TV, I've been on radio, and I wrote for magazines, and I really loved those opportunities. But all of those opportunities contributed to how I didn't fit in with the norm, or the stereotype of how a medium works, and how I guess I should be working with my abilities, and it never sat right for me. And one of the things that always did sit right for me was that I had the right to be me, doing me my way, and that my abilities contribute to me and who I am and how I get to work with people. And so my mission is to actually help people to work with their abilities their way.
And so when you stepped into that authentic part of yourself, and you took that more natural approach and just went with the flow instead of trying to fit in the box, I guess that's when all the success started happening.
Absolutely. When you're in alignment with yourself and you define your identity, because let's not forget, you know, we're conditioned to believe certain things and think in certain ways. And a lot of my work delves into the subconscious nature of who we are and connecting with spirit. You know, I'm their messenger. So when we really anchor into who we are and we honor ourselves and we work with our power and our truth, life gets to change into however we choose it to be. And it's not about having fairy tales, it's about creating them.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, so you take all those aspects of yourself, those authentic aspects, and all that training that, you know, what you thought was irrelevant to what you're doing now, and when you put it together, how do you utilize that? Tell us how you work with those skills now.
Well, you know, it's really interesting that you asked that question, and not many people have asked me this before, so thank you. Essentially, being a human resource manager and a primary school teacher and a workplace trainer, the common thread in there is communication and the ability to organise thoughts and ideas and perceptions to be able to communicate that in a way that helps other people. And so I often, you know, have people say to me, you're educated and you've got all these letters behind your name, but you're working as a psychic medium. And let me tell you, I use more energy as a psychic medium than I do in a classroom. So I think that it's about being able to interpret the message from spirit, being comfortable in the way that I interpret. We all interpret differently. We can work with all of the clairs of, you know, clairvoyancy and clairaudience and clairsentience and claircognizance, but we all do that in our own way, and spirit communicate in their own way as well. And so now that I'm comfortable with that, and when I'm working, I take my ego out of it, because when I'm working with somebody else, it's not about me. It's about them. And spirit use my knowledge and my wisdom and my skills and my experience to be able to interpret the message to them in a way that they will hear it and understand it from spirit. So it's thank you for asking that question, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to actually express it my way.
You know, you're talking about ego just there. You know, quite often it's seen as a negative thing. And what are your thoughts on the ego, working with the ego?
You know, and that is another thing that I find quite common too, is that ego is a dirty word. And you know what? It's actually not. For me personally, I had a drop-in when I was doing a reading for a client. And again, when I have drop-ins that are continuous, I take notice of them. So I had it come in when I was first doing a reading, and then when I was mentoring a client as well, is that your ego is the closest connection to your soul. It's kind of the channel for which your soul will learn and evolve from the lessons that it learns. And it's the same as when, you know, when people say, oh, you know, I've had that lesson to learn, like lessons are a bad thing. And some of the best lessons I've had have been brilliant moments. So with ego, what I have learned is that ego is there to protect us and keep us safe on both ends of the scale. So when we're feeling threatened, we go into defense, and it's our ego that makes us defensive, because it says, oh, I'm threatened here, or oh man, I'm feeling this fear, and what if, and the ego comes in and goes, well, it's all right. You don't have to worry about this because we've got you, and all of that sort of stuff. And so ego kicks in that way. But in a positive light, ego is your drive, it's your motivation, it's your desire, your determination, your persistence, your faith, your willingness to have faith, and ultimately your free will. And so what I have learned is the balance of my ego is that when I feel that fear creep in and I feel myself start to go into protection mode and my ego rears up, then I know there's something to learn from this experience, and I will take that lesson and process it for what it is, not what I think it should be, but what it is. And then how can that contribute to my drive and my motivation? And so for me, ego has become my greatest asset. And yet in the past, it was my greatest enemy. Now I see the both. I work with both, you know.
Just going back on what you said before, for people that don't know, can you just explain what drop-ins are, like when you get a drop-in?
Yeah, sure. A drop-in is when something resonates, when you're calling for knowledge or wisdom, or you're in the middle of a lesson And I find quite often I have these drop-ins when I'm working for somebody else, because I'm a Leo who is Scorpio rising with a Scorpio moon. So Headstrong's my middle name. It's for silent.
That's why we love you. You tell it like it is, Lana.
So I find that when I'm working too, because it's not about me and my ego is down, like my guard is down, that's when spirit get their best messages through to me. And so a drop-in is where something just clicks, where it just makes sense. And it's like, oh, yes, okay.
Those light bulb moments.
Yeah, and it's that whole, that makes sense. So I call it my drop-in, or my sensory moment, where it makes sense to me. And so, and then when that happens, I am very much a mind, body, soul person. And so I believe that your body is the conduit for all of the energy that you work with throughout your whole life. And so when my head, my heart, and my gut is in alignment, the answer is always yes. When my head, my heart, and my gut are not in alignment, then it means I need more information. The answer is simply no. And so when the drop-ins happen, straight away I go, ooh, head, heart, gut, what do you reckon? And they go, yes.
Go with
it. No.
Yeah. I guess that's a really important factor, because, you know, there's a lot of developing or even practicing mediums and psychics out there that they hold themselves back because of that fear and that ego. I mean, have you got any tips for them that can help them override that?
Absolutely. Stop comparing yourself.
I love
that is a really big one that I have had to learn over the years, and own who I am and what I'm here to do and how I'm here to do it, you know, because in the past, like I mentioned before, I don't fit the mold of the psychic medium. I dress corporate.
But who wants to fit the mold? I mean, come on. Isn't it better to be a little bit unique in yourself than fit this little box?
Look, for me personally, I've never fit the mold. I've never run with the pack. I've always done my own thing and been happy to do it. But my ego wanted everybody to like me. And when I let go of that and actually started liking me myself, that's when everything changed. Because when I wanted other people to like me, I'd look how, you know, how other people were performing on both sides of the camp, how other teachers were teaching, how other HR managers were managing, how other psychic mediums were reading, how were they platforming, what were they doing on TV, or what were they doing on, you know, social media. And I would compare myself. And what I found myself doing was being a total fake. And what I mean by that was the messages that I was delivering were not fake, but I was fake to me. I wasn't owning myself. And you know, I have an extra vocabulary that comes in here and there, and, you know, the F-bombs get dropped and all of that sort of stuff. And, you know, I'll put my party manners on for this feed. But on my own feed, if that word needs to come out, I say it now. Whereas in the past, I would be holding back and I'd be sitting very still and having the posture. Now I find that when I have my posture,
and you flow. It's that authenticness, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's also being willing to receive and not putting, you know, I have my boundaries on the things that I am willing to receive, but not because I want to block stuff out. It's because I want the right stuff to come in. And it's not all about money. I've developed a couple of different programs. One is called Mastering Your Instincts, because we all have instincts, and that's like a mentoring program that I do. But I also have the 5 pillars of abundance, because most people associate abundance with money, and it's so much more than that. And so I think that when we get focused on what society teaches us to focus on as workers, and we start to actually focus on being people, we start to then see what our true potential is. But when we are boxed in, sitting in that box, and I never felt completely comfortable sitting in the box of a human resource manager and a teacher and working corporate and all of that. Something just didn't sit right there too. And I was very successful in those careers. But I find that most of my success has now come, particularly in the last 3 years, when I got into alignment with myself. And that alignment.
It's turning that focus on you first and fixing who you are and who you see yourself to be before you start helping others.
If you don't, I have an analogy of the lemon tree, and I'm sure I've shared it with you before, Dan, but I'll share it for our viewers. If you have a lemon tree and it's bearing fruit, and people come to you and they want lemons, and you give them lemons, and then all of a sudden you're down to the last lemon, and all you've got left is the lemon in the tree. If you give away the tree, you've got to start again. What I've learned is go down the road and buy them some bloody lemons, but don't give away your tree. It's where the fruit bears. And so I keep my tree. I'm the tree.
And so you should.
Yeah, because I think that if we don't look after who we are and what we're here to do, then there's always going to be that 80% that, you know, that 20% that's not there. And, you know, if we're working on 80-20, 80% is the inner work and the 20% is the action that we do, that we take. And I'm working on that 80% now. And what I do when I'm working is that 20%.
Okay, so Lana, you're talking about people focusing on themselves first and really fixing who they are and how they feel about themselves before they start focusing on others. So the people that you mentor through your mentorship program, what sort of people are coming to you, and what are the things that you're working on together?
You know, thank you for that question. It's actually quite a broad spectrum, but what I find is the more the major numbers are sitting in between the ages of, say, 25 and 35. And that's a really critical point in our lives. That's when we are, you know, no longer young and silly, but got lots of learning to do, wanting a direction, your heart's getting pulled, your head's thinking one way. And for me personally, I bridged the gap for people between the abilities that they were born with and the success and life they desire to create, and then how they can pay it forward once they've created it. And so what I find is that in terms of the people that I'm attracting to work with, because I'm a big believer that we work with who we attract. And I remember being that age myself and just wanting someone to say to me, Lan, go this way. And I remember one of my mentors actually saying to me, the answers are already inside you. And I remember being so frustrated with her, not because she said that, but because that was all she said. And I was like, but how do I find these answers? So when I'm mentoring with my clients, they can work in a one-on-one session, or they can do a program with me. I tailor my programs around them. I use my astrology charts actually to guide me on what they are working with, so that I can help them see how they can work with that to the best of their ability and their choice. But I also have my 9-week program called Mastering Your Instincts. And Mastering Your Instincts is a week-to-week program where I actually have that one-on-one contact, plus an online online lessons that I've created and recorded, and yeah, it's something for them to be mind, body, soul connected with. It's a kinesthetic thing as well.
And you work psychically with each person, like is
absolutely
it blending that psychic mediumship?
I mean, my specialty of mediumship is actually working with spirit guides, more so than those that have crossed over. I find that those that have crossed over come through in readings. But when I'm actually mentoring, you've got a team of guides there that are trying to get some information through to you. And it's not necessarily, you're not necessarily ignorant, you're just not sure how to tune into that advice. And so I bridge the gap. That's how I bridge the gap. I speak with your guides and I hear what they have to say to me, and I'm guided on what I need to share with my clients. And so different things will trigger different forms of advice. And so I have a structure on how I work, but I also leave it to the flexibility of how spirit want to deliver it as well, because spirit are not bound by our human construct. They're
thankfully. They have a different perspective on things, which is great.
Yeah. So I'm intuitively working as well. Yeah, absolutely.
And the people that you're working with, so what you're doing is essentially helping them to find their authenticity and step into it and really step up and start doing the work they came to do.
Absolutely. Because if you're not, you're always going to feel that discontentment, that, you know, misalignment. Things aren't always going to feel like it's 100%, and it will start to get clunky the more that you try and swim against the stream. When you're working with your own personal abilities and connecting with your own energy and you're in alignment, you swim with the current, and rivers always lead to oceans. And so you get to swim to that ocean and create that success. And for me, the ocean is the success. It's when you get to branch out to you. And it doesn't matter whether you branch out on a small scale or a huge scale. It's not about scale. It's about how you branch out to you and what makes you content and happy.
And I guess too, from my experience, that the moment that you do step into that authenticity, things really start flowing and opportunities start coming forward, and instead of resisting life, you're actually going with the flow.
Absolutely. I heard a saying the other day from a fellow called Preston Smiles. He's quite big over in the States. And he said, when preparation meets opportunity, success is created. And
yes,
so
I love that.
Yeah, so when we are manifesting things into our life, it's one thing to say, I want a beautiful home. But if that home landed today, you wouldn't know how to clean it. You wouldn't know how to live in it, because you would take some time to go, holy crap, this is here. But when you work as if you're already living in the home and you're already ready to take those keys and turn it and walk in and create a life, that's when you get to do it to its fullest potential, rather than having to find your way along the way. And it's the same as you hear of so many people winning lotto and you go, yay, lucky bugger. But at the end of the day, most people who win big sums of money lose it quite soon after and end up with nothing, because they weren't prepared to receive that amount of money. And so it's about being prepared within yourself, that when opportunities come along, that you know you can do it, you know you can handle it, you know that it's the next step to you. And then you get to see your success at the levels you choose to go to. So it's not about me thinking that you need to be at a certain level. It's about you finding what the levels are for you, so that you can then embrace that and then make the most of the opportunities when they come.
In whichever way you choose to. I love that. And, you know, I guess it's that shift within, that changing that belief system too, you know, preparing yourself for what's to come. But until you know that direction and who you are as a person, you're not going to be able to make that shift. So that's great.
Right. Yeah. How do you find the direction when you don't know who you are? You know, because I can point you in a direction, but if you don't know who you are and you're not ready to embrace that, it will still be clunky no matter who points it out. It doesn't matter how amazing that person is in their field. What it is that if you're not ready to receive it and you're not ready to embody it, and I've had so many people say to me, I'm ready. And I go, awesome. Okay, we're going to do A, B, C. And they go, what? I've got to do something.
Can we do it tomorrow?
Yeah. And I now, when people tell me they're ready, I have a series of questions. I don't just work with anybody anymore, because I have a series of questions that Spirit have given me. Because when you are ready, time is not an issue. It's not even about money. You know what, I find time is a much, much more expensive commodity for people than money. You know, when people are prepared to commit their time and take action to do the things that they know they are capable of to create the life they want to. I've seen so many success stories that I've stood behind the curtains and watched, that I've been part of, where I've watched them just fly. And it's simply because they were prepared and committed to put the time and the energy in. And the money is always the byproduct of those things. And so for me,
it has to be the byproduct. It can't be your main focus. It never works that way.
The thing is, money is an energetic property. It responds to vibration, and it took years to learn that one, believe me, and a roller coaster of bank balances to prove it. You know, I've had my time.
I hear you.
I've almost been bankrupt twice in my 14 years of business. I've almost lost my house, my car. I've almost lost everything because I was chasing dollars, because I was raised to do that. Like, that's what I was raised to believe that we needed to do. And Spirit, I think, sent me so many messages to wake me up, and being so headstrong, it took them quite a few messengers.
I sometimes find that it's almost like you have to fall down that spiral, and how far do you want to fall down before you wake up and realize that what you're doing is not in alignment with who you are or the direction that you should be going in.
You know what, Danny, that is so true. I have been at points in my life and in my business and in my career where I have felt like I'm at the bottom of a well and the only place to go is up, you know, and I have pulled myself up by the scruff of the neck, kicked myself up the backside and moved forward, because I've got a bigger purpose to be here. And Spirit have constantly reminded me of that, whether they've given it to me directly or through the one thing that someone says that triggers me. And what I've learned is that I've become a catalyst for other people's causes. And that's my cause, is to be the catalyst for people to move into the next level or next version of themselves. And it took me so long to work that out, but I had to go to that bottom of that well to only be able to look up for me to be able to see that. And
you cannot do it without finding contrast through experience. You have to see what you don't want to know what you do want. And I also think that it's really important that people start to recognize that they do have a purpose and they do have a role to play here, because too often they think, well, I don't have a purpose. I don't want to step up and do this. Yeah. It's not for me to do. That's not my journey. But everyone has their purpose. It's just finding what that is.
Absolutely. The people that I hear say that they don't have a purpose, like the mum that says, I'm just a stay-at-home mum. That I cringe when I hear someone say that, not because of them saying it, but because that's their perception, that is.
Yeah, they've labelled themselves.
Yeah, and but that's society putting that label on as well. And so what I have said many times to women who have actually said that to me is that you are a nurturer, you are a marketing and promotions person, because you're the one that will tell everyone how good your kids are. You're an accountant, you are a cleaner, you are a chef, you are a planner, you're a warehouse manager, you're logistics and, all of that sort of stuff. Don't tell me you're just a mum, because to be a mum involves a lot of skill. And there's dads out there too who are stay-at-home dads. There's more stay-at-home dads now. And I've had dads say that. I'm just a dad.
Absolutely. It's just as important. And I've had a lot of people think that their purpose is their career, and I think there's something to be learned in that. For sure, you must see people that have that issue.
Yep, absolutely. When I am working in my Mastering Your Instincts program, I get people to do a life resume, not a work resume. I get them to go back as far as they can in their lives and go back as far as they can and write down every experience that they can remember, because every one of those experiences involved a level of learning in some way, shape or form. And for some people that can be painful. And so I say to them, don't re-experience it, just reflect. And if you need help, I'll guide you through it. But what I've found is that, quite a few of them have said to me, I could actually write a book from this, because people don't acknowledge how much they actually know. Experience leads to wisdom. And when people have different experiences in their lives, they're not just measured by the letters they have behind their name. I've got certificates left, right and centre, and you know what? None of them are on my wall.
And you're not using them as you speak.
Well, the thing is, I am. And all they show is my ability to commit to a period of time to take in information. And that's not downplaying education. But what it's saying is that when I got my degree, it was one of my life goals to get a degree, because it was ingrained in me that you're only successful if you
an expectation.
Yeah. And so I have that degree, and I'm incredibly proud of that degree, because when I got it, I was a single mum on the pension paying a mortgage and still managed to graduate with a credit distinction average. Now, for me,
Well done, you.
yeah, that was more though about my commitment to me. And there were so many times that people said to me, Lana, it's all too hard. You need to just defer. And I used to say to them, don't swear at me. Don't tell me what my destiny is to be, because you think I'm struggling too much to get past it. And so for me, getting that degree was so much more than the education and the job that I ended up doing. My career is what I learn and what I give back. And my degrees and my certificates and my work experience and my life experience contribute to everything that I have learned, so that I can actually sit in front of people, happily help them, and receive the payment for it, because I'm worth it. It's all the knowledge and the skills and experience and the wisdom and everything that I have invested in myself to be able to help them. And that's why I'm worth it. It's because I know what that is worth to me. And the right people do too, because they're the ones that benefit from it far more than what they pay. So it's that whole giving and receiving. My life was very much about giving, but it is also about receiving, and not just money, receiving the ability to witness someone succeed because I helped. I'm not the only person that people will work with. And I really am detached from that whole, I'm the only one that can make you who you are, because that's a load of crap.
Then you buy into yourself.
Absolutely. And that is ego, really protecting yourself for the next, in case the next person doesn't come. What I see myself as now is a piece in a person's puzzle. And I contribute my piece so that they can then go on to the next person who gets the next piece. For me personally, referring colleagues, I have other astrologers that I'm connected with who interpret very different to me, and I have many times referred people to them. I've done my bit, and then I refer people to them. I know other psychic mediums, and I refer people to them. I know other workplace trainers, and I refer people to them. Psychologists, all of those, I have a referral base. And I think it's important for every professional to have that, because you are not everything to everyone. It's your ego that thinks.
And people are only going to hear it from the people that relate to them. So if they're not going to relate to you, they need to hear it from someone else in a different format. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. And I have had situations where Spirit have referred somebody to me, because I never go out and say, hey, you need to have a reading with me. People come to me and say, I need a reading with you. And that's because Spirit have guided them to me. I'm not for the weak-hearted. I tell people straight, if Spirit give me a message a certain way, that's how you get it. So if you're
But I think that's important, because you're not going to hold back with stuff that you think you shouldn't be telling them. They need to hear some things.
Well, that's not authentic either. And I think that if you are due for a kick in the backside, I don't take pleasure out of that. That's not what I'm there for. What I'm there for, though, is for Spirit to give that to you, because it's what is going to take you to that next level. And so I say to people all the time, I'm not for the weak-hearted. If you want me to pussyfoot around with you, please don't book with me, because I can't do it that way. And it sounds funny. I've had $6 in the bank, and someone has come to me, but they want me to read or work with them a certain way, and I've knocked it back, because my integrity sits in my truth and my channel with Spirit. So there's been times where, I could have just faked it till I made it with that person, but I just can't do it. I won't take their money. I don't feel right.
You wouldn't be stepping into your truth.
Yeah.
Okay, so what can we give people to take away from this? What is there an exercise you can give them to help them become more open to abundance, maybe?
Yeah, one of the main things that has come through for my clients and for myself is the difference between a risk taker and an investor. So if you're watching, or as you are watching this, sit with it, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and really feel in and center and focus, and then say to yourself out loud, I am a risk taker. And when you do that, see where it lands in your body and how you feel about it. And once you've done that, clear that, and then do the same, center and focus, and say to yourself, I am an investor, and see where that lands. The reason being is because when you are a risk taker, you have fear, lack, and security, fear, lack, and scarcity, and insecurity that what you're doing will fail. If you are an investor, you're focused on the growth. And so you're prepared to put in that time and that energy. When you are risking, you are looking for what can go wrong. And if you're focused on what can go wrong, guess what? It's going to. But when you are investing, you're focusing on how you can grow. And guess what? You're going to. And that's the biggest beautiful drop-in that I have had from Spirit through a number of clients, and even for myself, is what am I doing? Why am I doing it? The how is not important, because how is contextual. But what am I doing and why? And
I love that you're bringing it back to the body. So the body has amazing ability to tell you the truth straight up. So I love that you're bringing that back into the body to let your body tell you where you're out of sync.
Oh, the body's the conduit. The body's where the energy sits. It's not in your head. When you let everything be about your head, you've lost touch with what you're here to do, because it's sitting in here. It's sitting in those, however many chakra points. I work with 7, but apparently there are more. But it's sitting there, And so if you allow your body to speak, it will express the subconscious nature that you're meant to be aligned with. And remember, your subconscious is just as important as your conscious mind. It's all linked. Beautiful. And if you don't work with the links within you, it's never going to align. You can...
Bringing it back to heart-based.
Heart-based. Head, heart, gut. Head, heart, gut.
Love it. So if people want to get in touch with you or work with you or mentor with you, how do they find you?
The best way to find me is actually on Facebook. I went with all the websites and all of that sort of stuff, but I spend most of my time invest most of my time on Facebook. So the best way to get...
that's where the people are. You're connecting with your people.
Absolutely. That's it. You go where people are, So I'm still working on my Instagram account, so I won't share that one. But the best one is my business page, which is Lana F Jackson, and the address is at Lana Jackson. So that's the best way to get in touch with me.
And you do live feeds on Facebook and connect with people on there?
Yeah, most of my stuff is actually now done on my business page, because I found that on my personal page I could only have 5,000 people there, and it was like, but I want to impact so many more. So it's better to be on the business page and to just put it out there, And if you are starting a business yourself, just put it out there. You never know at any given time whose ears your messages will fall on, but it will be the right ones for you.
Synchronistically, they'll come together.
Absolutely.
Okay. And if they want to book a session with you, like a reading or a mentor program, how do they find you there?
I actually have a Timely website. I do have that. And it's the address is in the book now on my business page, but it's lanajackson.gettimely.com.
Perfect. I'll put a link below too if anyone wants to reach out to you. You'll find all those links down below. Perfect. Well, thank you, Lana. It's been lovely speaking to you. I love when you just want to get out there and start sharing your message and get those people to also step up and follow you. I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's been such an honour. We've known each other for so long now, Dan, and we kind of go out and we come back in, and I'm so grateful that you've come back in. And
well, I think it's more about sharing the conversation. We have these conversations in private all the time, and I think now it's time to start sharing them, because there's people out there that can also benefit.
Yeah, and with what your mission is as well, it's just amazing what you're doing, Danny. I just
hopefully we'll heal some hearts.
Pardon?
Hopefully we'll heal some hearts.
Oh, there's no hope. There's no hope. That's what we're here to do.
Thanks, Lana, for your time. We'll catch up again soon, and I encourage everybody to reach out to Lana, of course, on her Facebook page and directly on her website. And don't be shy to subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Spirit's Voice and also to Lana. And we'll see you for the next interview next week. It's very exciting.